And we want to welcome to Impact Talks Mr. Ugonna Mbelu, better known as Ugo, first-generation Nigerian American. He is a communications grad from Arizona State, a self-published author of the book Delusionally Vain. He's also the founder of Burble Cloth, a movement based on improving the lives of the minority voice. Welcome to Impact Talks, Ugo.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
What a marvelous pleasure. So tell me, Nigerians are one of the fastest growing African immigrant communities in the U.S.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. What's your family story, migration coming out here?
Both my parents came out here because of education.
Okay.
Separate reasonings, but my father always wanted to be an architect. He knew coming out here would be good. My mom, her story is more so in Nigeria at the time, there's only so far a woman can go. And my mom is not a settler, so...
She wouldn't settle.
No, so she got her chance. She came out here, and yeah, they met each other in America. But, both education and opportunity for a better life brought them both out here.
That's interesting. I like that you talked about mom won't settle.
Yeah.
Won't settle. There's always a rebel somewhere. I'm not saying mom is a rebel, mom.
She's a
I'm
rebel.
just happy that you had the presence of mind to say, this place is not enough for me. Right?
Yeah.
So as a first generation American, tell me about, do you feel a sense of gratitude for your parents being out here, and what has it been like for you, raising you?
Oh, definitely grateful for my parents deciding to come out here, raise my siblings and myself in America. It's been amazing just having both cultures to really pull from. Instead of saying, okay, this is your culture, you stick with it. It's, no, you take the best from this culture, take the best from another culture, and you kind of melt it. And I think that's the beauty of America, especially for immigrants. It's like, all right, well, we saw what wasn't working back home, or we adapt to this situation.
Correct.
And yeah, it's like starting a whole new thing.
Yes. Growing up, did you have friends who were born first-generation Americans, who got sucked into trying to be all-out American? Yeah.
I had a lot of friends like that, some cousins like that. And it's just, you see how it turned out in the long run.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, when you're a kid, you're envious of those people because you're like, oh,
that's
your
so
life
cool.
looks so amazing. Yeah, exactly. But looking back, you fast forward the clock and you're where we are now in our lives. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have traded it for anything, the way I was brought up. So, yeah, I think having that balance of like, well, we're Nigerian, but also in America, it brought a good balance to what we're trying to do.
The good thing about America, though, is it gives opportunities, land of dreams. However, there is also the side, there's some bigotry that exists and stigma. And unfortunately, most minority communities, Nigeria being one of those, has had to suffer with some stigmatization.
Oh, yeah.
And do you feel pressure to want to excel beyond because you want to be seen as, this is the face of Nigerian heritage, to say the least?
Yes and no. And I don't think the pressure comes from having to prove to anyone on the outside.
Correct.
I think the pressure more for me is making my parents proud. Kind of like, you guys came out here, you suffered when you see your parents working 2 or 3 jobs, like working 18-hour days, you're like, oh, and I didn't do anything with the opportunity you gave me.
Exactly.
Guilt creeps in.
Yes.
So I think the wanting to do something on a larger scale or do something of magnitude comes from seeing our parents work so hard and seeing, our uncles and aunts and the community they built for us to actually grow.
Yes.
So when you see that sacrifice, it leads you to want to do bigger things.
As a media person, doesn't it, because you're kind of a media person, I would say, because you're a publisher as well, does it perturb you that we tend to focus on the negative as opposed to the successes, because Nigerians are not only the fastest growing African community, but they're one of the smartest immigrant groups in the United States?
Yes, it does. And it's hard to get those stories told because it depends on who controls the media.
Absolutely.
Like with your platform here, you're able to shine a light on those who are doing great things. Whereas in the news, a lot of times you'll see you'll see a picture of a black male, Nigerian male, and it's not male went to go save ex-convict, went to go do this, former but they focus on the negative of what that person's done, even if they just did a good trait right there.
Yes.
And again, it's just who controls the narrative of that.
Absolutely. Hey, if this is your first time visiting TIMTV channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button here below and ring the notification bell so you will be notified when we post new content. And I have to say this, recently there was this incident that took place, this terror attack in Kenya. And apparently one of the news outlets did focus so much more on, just exposing the sad side of the story.
Yeah.
And it took a hit on Twitter. Did you hear about that?
I'm not aware of it. I just heard about the story this morning. So
yes, and they said, would American media, if this had happened here, would they focus so much more on showing the dead and not giving them the dignity?
Yeah.
And that was an issue. Do you think that the reporting about, especially African stories, is told from a very not so respectful perspective?
It is. It is told from, and you say not so respectful. It's almost disrespectful.
I'm trying to be gentle here.
You're very PC about it. It is disrespectful because kind of going back to that, it's, oh, this happened. And then instead of focusing on the thing that happened, it's like, well, we don't know enough about this culture, so we'll dig up what we do know. And what we do know is, oh, they've had a dictator who's done this for so many years and put them under this.
Yes.
It's like, but there's been so much progress in this area that the people have done. You're focusing on the negative to get your story to sell more.
Yes.
And
do you think that that would definitely be what would affect children like yourself who were born to immigrant parents?
Yeah, it does affect you because, working in different sectors, I worked in tech for a while, and it wasn't a secret that I was Nigerian, but it was one of the running jokes was like, well, if you get a email from a Nigerian not named Ugo, don't respond. And it was like, the fact that I'm just like,
imagine being,
I'm sitting there in the room and I was like, you got to take the joke, but it's, I mean, you can't blame people for what they don't know is ignorance.
It's really ignorance. So tell me, let's talk about nice, interesting things. You're a successful self-published author. Tell me about your work and your book. Well, Delusionally Vain. What is that about? Vain, vanity is delusional.
Yes.
So delusionally vain.
It's a fictional take on just like a self-reflection of just life. And I mean, I always wanted to write a book when I was younger. And so I was like, what can I write a book about? And it was like, I don't know anyone more interesting than myself. Don't put that in. No, just like, no, but, just kind of some things that happened to me throughout life. And it was like, well, to someone, they might seem really boring, but, if you just write a story kind of around this and just that whole trying to be someone in the world and just life taking you here and there.
Yeah.
So that's what that book is about. And
so let's talk about Burble Cloth. And you're wearing Burble Cloth. What does that stand for? What's the movement? You say it's a movement on improving the lives of minority voice. Break it down.
So Burble is based on beauty, unity, respect, balance, love, and excellence. And in terms of affecting minority voice, there's so many people who aren't heard, who are unspoken, who don't have the platform to do the things they want to do, don't even have the opportunity to change their lives. And again, being a child of immigrant parents, I realize how fortunate I am when I go back to Nigeria and I see things like people not being able to go to school. And you have to work in the same place your parents worked. And it's like you have no chance of getting up, going further. So with Burble, we started off as a clothing movement, but we're like, no, we have to do more. And so we've partnered with the foundation, the Janko Foundation, who works in healthcare and child education in Nigeria. And that's what we're really helping on growing for them.
Absolutely awesome. So how can listeners who are listening to you now, because you're doing all this work, how can they support you? How can we, put this thing out there in the community? You're doing so much for the minority communities and voice. So
the listeners can go to burblecloth.com and support. We also have a special for your listeners. If you go to burblecloth.com/impact, every listener today will get 25% off using a code we will have set up for you. And the proceeds from these sweatshirts go to the children and the healthcare and the maternal care in Nigeria. That is amazing. Last word for young immigrant kids about how to deal with these challenges we just talked about. Be yourself. That is the hardest thing. The hardest thing is finding out who you are. But once you do realize who you are, be yourself. Don't change for anyone else.
Lord have mercy. That was Impact. Thank you so much, Ugo. Very inspiring. Thank you for sharing your story and all these wise words. You're
Thank
so
you.
wise. And this is Impact on KPFK 90.7 FM, where immigrants and Americans discuss America today. Thanks for watching today's video. For more TIMTV videos about immigrant lifestyles, click on the subscribe button here below and ring the notification bell so you will be notified when we upload new content. We upload new content every single week. See you next time on TIMTV.